Please, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more electrifying legal battles and stories of unyielding courage. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts on Pam Bondi's fight for justice. What do you think of her stand? Pam Bondi began her day alone, stripped of the political armor that once defined her tenure as Florida's top prosecutor. No assistants, no government office, no institutional shields, only a stack of documents arranged with near-obsessive precision and a steely belief in justice. She faced a $10 million defamation lawsuit claiming her words inflicted severe harm on The View's reputation and earnings. The controversy stemmed from a White House press briefing where, as a special advisor on media policy, Bondi declared, "Not a single federal dollar should be spent on television programs that deliberately divide the public and incite hatred under the guise of discussion." Media outlets seized the phrase "extremist television programs," alleging Bondi directly targeted The View. Within hours, the quote was clipped, edited, and broadcast, igniting a firestorm. Social media erupted with hashtags like Defend the View, and op-eds screamed headlines like, "Did Pam Bondi just label The View an extremist show?" Bondi became the villain accused of silencing dissent. A former advisor called his voice urgent, warning her to back down, Pam. That judge will crush you. This isn't justice, it's politics. Bondi's response was resolute. That is exactly why I cannot back down. In my 10 years covering legal battles, I've rarely seen such defiance against overwhelming odds, a testament to Bondi's conviction that truth must prevail over political pressure. With no legal team, Bondi prepared her defense in solitude, immersing herself in landmark cases. She studied New York Times v. Sullivan, 1964, which holds that public figures can only claim defamation if the speaker acted with actual malice, knowingly making a false statement, or with reckless disregard for the truth. She also pored over Hustler magazine v. Falwell, 1988, which protects even offensive or satirical speech unless it involves intentional falsehood. These cases became her arsenal, her shield against a courtroom primed to judge her before she spoke. Her opponent was Judge Jerome Masters, a veteran of over 3 decades, known in legal circles for progressive leanings and a subtle but devastating bias against conservative defendants. Whispers among attorneys painted Masters as a quiet architect of rulings that favored social liberty, often using technicalities and pointed questions to corner conservatives. Legal analysts noted his tendency to cut off arguments laced with themes he disapproved of, a tactic that required no raised voice but left defendants scrambling. The courtroom was packed with political reporters, television pundits, and Whoopi's supporters, some wearing Justice for Whoopi shirts, their eyes scanning Bondi for any sign of weakness. She offered none her composure, unshaken her documents, her sole allies. Whoopi Goldberg took the stand, delivering a performance that blended raw emotion with surgical precision. Her voice quivered as she claimed Bondi's statement shattered her 40-year legacy, portraying The View as a vital platform for marginalized voices. "I'm not here because of one insult," she said, her tone rich with pain. "I'm here because I've spent over 40 years building something that was shattered in a moment by one sentence." She accused Bondi of labeling her show extremist and unworthy of federal funding, causing profound personal and professional harm. A single tear slid down her cheek, perfectly timed drawing gasps from the gallery. As a journalist, I've seen emotional testimony sway juries, but this felt like a masterclass in courtroom theater crafted for headlines rather than legal substance. Whoopi's attorney, Charles Whitman, presented a $10 million damages claim, supported by a sleek gray-bound folder containing financial records, emails from advertisers expressing concern, viewership statistics, and screenshots of social media attacks. Whitman argued Bondi's words, spoken as a government official, carried institutional weight, triggering canceled ad contracts, a measurable ratings drop, and an organized wave of boycotts. He submitted a thick stack of documents titled Economic Damage and Media Fallout following public statement framing. Bondi's statement as the sole cause of The View's woes. Whitman's presentation was polished, but I sensed a weakness. It relied heavily on emotional impact and correlation, not definitive causation. Bondi saw it too, her silence deliberate, her mind cataloging every claim for her counterattack. When Bondi rose to speak, Masters cut her off, accusing her of political grandstanding. "This is a court of law, not a press room," he snapped, fining her $1,000 for conduct unbecoming. He rejected her request to present the unedited press conference video, claiming it would unduly influence the audience. The dismissal was a power play, a judge asserting dominance rather than seeking truth. Bondi didn't flinch. She stood again, her voice measured but piercing, citing New York Times versus Sullivan. She argued her statement was protected speech, not a personal attack, emphasizing that actual malice required proof. She knowingly lied or acted recklessly, evidence the plaintiff hadn't provided. She invoked Hustler magazine versus Falwell, noting that even shocking or offensive speech is protected absent intentional falsehood. Masters interrupted, warning her against lecturing, but Bondi pressed on undeterred. "Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom without limits," she said. "But it does mean we cannot use subjective hurt feelings to silence an uncomfortable political opinion. If feeling offended is enough to warrant court intervention, then we're no longer talking about free speech. We're talking about emotional censorship." She argued her statement was a policy opinion about public funding, not an accusation against any individual. And if offense alone could trigger lawsuits, the legal system would collapse under a flood of subjective grievances. The courtroom fell silent, her logic slicing through the emotional fog. In my career, I've watched seasoned attorneys buckle under less pressure. Bondi's clarity was a rare display of intellectual fortitude, a beacon in a room thick with bias. Then came the moment that turned the trial on its head. Bondi produced a small voice recorder, and with a single press of a button, played a clip of Masters captured days earlier outside his office. "You came in here with what? A suit and a few law books. I have ruled on cases like this before you finished high school." The words dripped with contempt, exposing his bias in stark, undeniable clarity. The courtroom froze, reporters' pens flying, Whitman's smugness vanishing. Bondi requested the recording be entered as evidence of judicial prejudice and demanded Masters recuse himself under Title 28, Section 455 of the U.S. Code, citing conduct that undermined public confidence in the trial's fairness. She explained the recording was made during a routine visit to confirm a hearing schedule when Masters let slip his unguarded disdain. As a journalist, I've covered judicial scandals, but this was a bombshell of historic proportions. A lone defendant without counsel unmasking a judge's bias with irrefutable proof in open court. Reporters leaned forward, some whispering. That was him. No denying it. Whitman sat motionless, his earlier confidence replaced by the stunned realization that the trial's trajectory had shifted. After a tense 15-minute recess, Masters returned, his face pale, his authority visibly cracked. He refused to admit the recording, claiming it was outside the trial's legal scope, but acknowledged Bondi's concern about impartiality. Bondi escalated, threatening a formal complaint to the Federal Judicial Conduct Board if he continued presiding. The press gallery erupted, phones lighting up, thumbs flying across screens. Masters, cornered, stepped down his exit, announced by a clerk with cold finality. The federal court has granted the recusal of Judge Jerome Masters. In my 10 years, I've never seen a judge's departure feel so much like a capitulation, a testament to Bondi's audacity and the power of truth. Judge Monica Reyes, a former federal prosecutor appointed for her unimpeachable merit, took over. A Latina, known for her no-nonsense fairness, Reyes commanded the courtroom with quiet authority, declaring, "I don't care about anyone's name or political affiliation in this courtroom. I look at evidence, and I expect everyone here to do the same." Her words reset the trial, stripping away the emotional veneer Masters had allowed. Bondi submitted Nielsen data showing the View's viewership decline began in April, months before her July statement, attributed to unbalanced content and a lack of politically diverse guests. She quoted a June 3rd Nielsen report. The sustained decline in viewership among the 25 to 44 demographic has persisted for 5 consecutive weeks, attributed to unbalanced content and lack of politically diverse guest appearances. She presented records from ad agency Greenmark, proving 5 of 8 canceled contracts were terminated before her statement based on internal brand surveys, citing decreased relevance among neutral audiences. Whitman's team faltered, their emotional narrative crumbling under Bondi's barrage of evidence. She addressed their social media claims, arguing that tweets do not prove malice, citing New York Times v. Sullivan. She demanded evidence she knowingly lied or acted recklessly, evidence the plaintiff couldn't produce. Tweets are the product of the public, she said, their momentary emotions amplified by social media. If every negative online reaction can be used to infer malicious intent, then we are turning anyone who expresses a political opinion into a scapegoat for collective offense. She warned that equating online reactions to malice would make every public speaker liable for others' emotions, replacing law with fear. Bondi argued that if neutral policy statements could trigger lawsuits, free speech would be strangled by subjective offense. Reyes listened intently, her neutrality a lifeline for truth in a trial once dominated by sentiment. As a reporter, I saw Bondi's evidence as a surgical dismantling of the plaintiff's case, each fact a precise cut that exposed the fragility of their claims. Bondi delivered her final argument citing Hustler magazine vs. Falwell, emphasizing that her statement named no individual, contained no personal attacks, and was a policy opinion about public funding, not defamation. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she declared, "because I didn't commit a wrong. I'm not asking to be understood, because what I said was clear. I am asking to be judged on the basis every American is promised the Constitution, where speaking the truth without hate, without deception, is not a crime." Reyes acknowledged the precedent. Her nod signaling the trial now rested on law, not emotion. Whitman offered no rebuttal, his earlier confidence evaporated. Whoopi sat silent, her once commanding presence diminished, realizing the case had transcended her personal grievance. The plaintiff's case collapsed, unable to counter Bondi's relentless evidence. In my decade of reporting, I've seen trials pivot on less, but Bondi's precision turned a personal dispute into a constitutional showdown, a masterclass in legal reasoning that left the courtroom in awe. Bondi didn't gloat. She had forced a biased system to confront itself not with anger or theatrics, but with unyielding truth and legal mastery. The courtroom sat spellbound, witnessing a lone woman redefine justice through intellect and courage. Reporters rushed to publish headlines like "Judge Steps Down After Bias Exposed" and Pam Bondi's "Stand for Free Speech." Shakes courtroom spreading across outlets from CNN to independent blogs. A Yale law professor posted online, "Not everyone has the courage to confront a sitting judge in their own courtroom. Pam Bondi just did it with evidence and unshakable calm." Bondi ignored the media frenzy, requesting official confirmation that her recusal motion was recorded. When a reporter asked for a statement, she said, "I didn't ask anyone to fail. I asked everyone to do their job." That didn't happen today. Her words cut through the noise, a call for principle over power in a world addicted to viral moments. In my career, I've rarely heard a quote so restrained yet so profound, encapsulating the trial's core, a demand for accountability in a system that too often bends to influence. This trial transcended a single statement. It became a battle over free speech, judicial integrity, and the law's role in protecting truth over emotion. Bondi stood as the woman who alone made the system pause and reflect, not through spectacle, but through the quiet power of reason. As a journalist, I see her fight as a warning and an inspiration. When bias festers unchecked, it takes someone like Bondi, armed with nothing but truth tenacity and a deep understanding of the law, to expose it. This case will resonate in legal circles for decades. A reminder that justice, though often delayed by prejudice, can still prevail when one person refuses to bow. Bondi's victory wasn't just personal. It was a triumph for every American who believes the Constitution protects their right to speak without fear. In a polarized age, where emotion often drowns out reason, Bondi's stand is a beacon urging us to demand a legal system that upholds truth above all. Do not miss what happens next. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to follow Pam Bondi's battle and other stories of standing up for justice. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you think of Bondi's courage and this historic trial.
Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, drop a comment below. And please like, share, and subscribe my channel.